Every thought, feeling, action, emotional state that we have belongs to us. It's our responsibility. It's ours to manage. So if I am mad at someone, or you are mad at your person you're in a relationship, do you go and just berate them? I'm sorry, that's child's play. It is. It's time to grow up. Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? It's going to be a solo podcast, and I have a big ask. It's actually a rather small ask. Would you guys please, if you get anything out of this podcast or all the different things that you learn and hear from the unbelievable people that I interview, would you please just take the time to like, subscribe, give a 5-star review, leave some comments? It would really help me so much with even just like the YouTube, my ability to do different things on YouTube. It would really help me so much. A lot of people, I have like a top percentage rating, but I don't have a lot of people who are subscribing on YouTube. So if you guys could just take that extra moment and just head on over to Alison Answers on YouTube and just subscribe and like on my channel. If you could comment on anything, I'd really appreciate it. You guys are the best. I really appreciate your dedication and your continued support of what I'm doing here, where I'm really using my voice and sharing other people's voices to make a difference in your life and the lives of anyone who will listen. So I just want, without any further discussion, I just want to thank you for just being there and listening. So what we're going to talk about today, which is really cool, I love the topic of communication. I love the topic of relationships because I think there is so much difficulty. If you think about anything in your life that ever bothers you, it's usually relationship focused. And if we consider, just think of any of the problems you may have right now, they're usually somehow linked to a personal experience inside of yourself that's related to another human being, typically. Now, obviously, it could be other things like finance or whatever, but for the purposes of this podcast, we're going to talk about relationships, we're going to talk about conflict, and I'm going to give you some really simple, unbelievable, they're going to sound so simple that you're going to have a hard time believing that they're going to work, but actually simplicity is king, clarity is king. Being able to take a complicated situation and identify the actual problem and hone in on that. Once we identify what the issue of anything is, we can fix it. The problem's halfway solved. So what I want you to understand is that, number one, any relationship, I'm not sure why people get so surprised by conflict. Let's just start right there. Forget being surprised and shocked that you're in another conflict. The thing about conflict, it's just a situation that probably has something to do with a lack of understanding or a lack of like collateral or combined effort to fully understand one another. I truly believe, and it's one of my highest values, is to be understood is to be loved, and to understand someone is to love them, and to take the moment to ask the extra question, to take the moment to find out before jumping to conclusions what you think someone is thinking, what you think someone's intention is, what you think someone's action means. It is really important to humble ourselves. You want to think about a hack in relationships and in life. Stop believing that you know the reason why people think, feel, act, and do the things that they do, because I guarantee to you, you don't know. I have learned that from being a therapist, owning counseling centers, dealing with countless employees and countless clients over all of my adult years. The one thing that is a constant that I have learned is that whatever You think the reason is that somebody's doing it, let them come into a room where they're going to share their soul, when they're going to bare their heart and tell you the freaking truth about what's really going on with them. You know what happens? Then you love them because you understand that what's going on behind the scenes that other people aren't seeing is what the reason is that they're doing it. And usually what we see is not the therapist, usually what the wife, the husband, the son, the daughter, the mother, the father see in that person is something that's other than what is driving the behavior that's bothering you. So with all that being said, I want you to consider a couple of very important things. Most people are operating with an external locus of control. You've heard me say this many, many times. If you hear it 1,000 times in your life and it becomes something that's just a natural part of your thinking, it will change your entire life. And that is a guarantee. Most people are reacting to people, places, and things, events, all sorts of things that are outside of them, instead of responding to going directly inside and doing the internal inspection of what it is that they're actually feeling in regard to the thing that's outside of them. Because if you take the time to do that and you say, okay, what is it about that situation that has such an incredible impact on me? And what is the reason that so-and-so looking that way made me feel so angry? Because we know that that person outside of us is not the reason. They didn't make me feel anything. I have sat in thousands of marriage counseling sessions, family sessions, where you say, oh, tell me what's going on inside of you. What are you feeling? They're saying, I'm angry. What are you angry at? I'm angry because him. I'm angry because her. I'm angry because of that. And instead of stopping and saying, okay, let me go inward and find out what it is about that person, place, or thing that's given me the opportunity to feel something that's already inside of me. So the first thing to do in a relationship is to be able to have the discipline to go inward first, take ownership of your own emotions, your own actions, your own thoughts. Because most people are looking at someone else, particularly their spouse, their loved one, their relationship, and going, I know why they're doing that. You did that because of this. And the person will say, no, I didn't. I did it because of this. But people will fight. They'll fight for what they believe the reason is that the other person did it, and then fight from that point. Most arguments are not about the actual issue. They're usually about the way people are handling the issue. So no matter what the conflict is, I've seen even in infidelity, and I'll tell you, I have a very straight plan for a couple that wants to stay together after infidelity. Basically, trust is broken, and the person who was cheated on obviously is having trigger after trigger after trigger, feeling a lack of trust, not knowing when that person's going to do it again. Are they going to do it again? Blah, blah, blah. But this couple has decided to stay together. So what do? Now, let's just, for the purposes of this, this particular podcast, I'm just going to do it that the man cheated and the woman did it, but it has nothing, it could be either way. It doesn't matter which way. So let's just say that happened. The man's remorseful. Now they're trying to repair their situation. What will happen, and with the best course of action, is how do we restore trust? Well, number one is the person who was cheated on has to ask themselves a very, very difficult question. Am I willing to continue to work toward learning to trust this person again? Do I value the relationship enough to do that? The person who actually cheated needs to ask themselves the question, am I willing to spend the rest of my days in this relationship? Am I willing to continue to reassure my person for as long as necessary until they are grounded and feel as if they can trust me again? Even if it takes a lifetime, am I willing to do it? Is it that valuable to me? It's a very important question. It's a difficult question, because very often in that type of a situation, let's say somebody cheats, the other person keeps now accusing them of cheating. We don't do that. The person who's being accused then is like, you said you forgive me. Are you ever going to stop accusing me? Are you ever going to trust me again? Now, if we take that relationship and we say, okay, this is going to be a joint effort between two adults, two people who are going to say, the person who was cheated on is going to, every time they have any feeling inside that feels like, God, I just feel a lack of trust. I don't know where he is. I don't know where she is. What they do is they have a license between the two of them that this person, the person who was cheated on, can go to the person who cheated and say, hey, I'm having that really bad feeling again. I really need to be reassured. Now, the guideline for the person who was cheated on is they can really never, ever, ever, ever accuse that person. I understand that that's not easy, but there's a joint effort to recreate a marriage and to build trust again. The person who cheated, it is their obligation to not become defensive when the person feels insecure, when the person feels like they're not trusting again, but to take that time when that person needs it, no matter how many times in a row they need it, to communicate and reassure that person, hey, listen, I can understand how you feel that way. I want you to know that I'm here, I'm with you, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to cheat on you again. And how can I best reassure you? Now, the person who is angry and hurt and all those things, this does not give you license to continue to say, you suck, you this, you that, because it's not going to build what you want it to build. You want to be able to share what you feel, but we're talking about resolution right now. That's after you've already made the decision to scream and yell and fight and whatever it is you did in response to this terrible experience. So now let me go back to what I was saying. That's just an example. But the overall truth about a relationship is that being direct and living in the truth with love and seeking to understand the other person is a cure-all. And I can't even tell you enough. It is so simple. Your spouse comes in, they have a look on their face. Every single one of us has a perception of the perception that the other person has of us. So husband walks in, has a look on his face. The wife says, oh, looks like he's mad at me. And then jumps to the conclusion that he's mad, then feels internally defensive. Now, starts to feel mad at him. Now, then he responds, sees that she's got a chip on her shoulder. Now you see how this builds, goes back and forth. Now he's mad at her. Now, this all comes from a moment, a look, an experience that was not resolved when it needed to be. So a key component to having a good relationship is you want to be direct, you want to be clear, but you want to be current. So being current is your husband walks in, he has a look on his face, you think he's mad at you. You don't immediately assume that you are right because usually we are wrong. 99% of the time when we assume something about another person, we cannot know what is going on inside of another person unless we ask. Most people don't want to ask. They don't want to ask because they fear conflict. They don't want to ask because they're immediately defensive. They don't want to ask because they have a lot of baggage in the back of that relationship that they're just carrying around. So now this is just another thing that they're going to add to their case against the person that they're supposed to love. Now, we have to remember that we are taught from the time we are very, very small through all media all around us. Cultural norms in our country basically have taught us since we are young and continue to teach us that relationships, marriages, all of that are adversarial, that they're difficult, and that they're hard. And you have to barrel through and struggle through that relationship in order to succeed. And maybe you'll make it to 50 or 80 years. And, you should get a pat on your back for all the difficulties. How about relationships are meant to be harmonious? And we're supposed to take responsibility for our own shit instead of putting it in their toilet bowl and expecting them to flush it. Enough is enough. We need a couple of grown-ups in a relationship that have worked through their childhood issues to be able to Be direct, clear, ask the right questions, ask yourself the right question. Somebody walks in, you have a triggering moment, you go inside, you ask yourself the question, wow, I think he's mad at me. You know why I think he's mad at me? Because I remember, I could tell you this is me. This is Alison talking. I remember every time I saw my mother pull up to my house, I thought, shoot, she's mad. I see that look on her face. My mother had a look on her face, man. I thought she was depressed, but I thought, shit, oh, mom's mad. I better make sure I clean. I better make sure I do this. Better make sure I keep everything tip top to keep mom happy. Now husband walks in, has a look on his face. Do I take that out on him? Do I run around and people please? Do I yell at him? Do I this? What do I do? What I do in that moment when I see him is I say, hey, hun, you're honest. You go inward first. I said, hey, hun, first. You go inward first. And then you say, Alison, what is it about him looking that way that feels like it belongs to you? And then I say, you know what? Because I'm used to thinking that. So there's a good chance that it has nothing to do with me. What is it about me that makes me immediately feel like I'm in trouble? What is it about me that immediately makes me feel like I've done something wrong? What's going on here, Alison? You didn't do anything wrong. And even if you did, you're not a child. If you did something wrong, you'll talk about it. There is nothing to fear. Then you go to your husband. You say, hey, hun, you know what? I just felt like triggered when I saw your face. I was thinking you're mad at me. Are you mad at me? Now, what the husband or the other person needs to do is be honest. They may not know why they have a look on their face. So they have to take a moment and go inward. They'd say, hey, I didn't even know I had a look on my face. Let me take a minute. Let me just think. No, it has nothing to do with you. Now you reassure the other person. You answer the question. If you become defensive and say, what do you always think I'm just thinking something? I'm not thinking anything. You know what? Where is that going to take you in your life or in your marriage? Stop doing that. You want to be the person that you're married to, the person you're in a relationship. You want to be their friend. So then you say, so now let's say the man says, you know what, hon? I didn't even realize it. I have a headache. I'm tired. I didn't even know I had a look on my face. It has nothing to do with you. Now this woman, she's cut off there. Now she doesn't have to be concerned with all the thoughts. She takes control of her own life, her own inner world, her own emotional state. And she says, I'm going to go directly to what I think is an issue. And I'm going to ask the question. If I've done something wrong, I'm going to address it. I'm going to say if I did do something that upset you, what was it? Okay. Now I could understand how you might feel that way. When we're listening to our spouse or someone that we love, and they're telling us something that they feel upset with us about, the first thing that we always need to do is not defend, is to listen with the intent, no agenda of our own, but with the intent to understand what that person is feeling. The person who is communicating to us, let's say you're going to communicate to your person that you love, and you want to tell them something that's bothering you. You want to make sure that you own everything about it. Every thought, feeling, action, emotional state that we have belongs to us. It's our responsibility. It's ours to manage. So if I am mad at someone, or you are mad at your person you're in a relationship, do you go and just berate them? I'm sorry, that's child's play. It is. It's time to grow up. No more child's play. We're taught child's play. Our society teaches us. Every damn TV show shows husbands and wives playing like children, arguing like children, making fun of one another like children, name calling, talking about one another behind their back. It is absolutely ridiculous, childish. And we actually have bought that bullshit lie and continue to follow it in our own lives. Don't do it. Be different. Be unique. You don't have to follow what society has told you about relationships, because it's, quite frankly, it's bullshit. It's child play. Back to what I'm saying. Now, the truth is if you feel upset with someone, you just go and talk to them, but you don't accuse them. You say, hey, I was having a hard time. I'm not saying you did anything wrong, because I'm not even clear on it. Now, obviously, if they did something that was total betrayal, whatever, obviously you're going to address it. You don't pussyfoot around. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about If you like have a feeling like, you know what, you really didn't look at me when we were at the party. It really bothered me. I'm not complaining about you. I just want you to know how I feel about it, because you may have just been thinking something else, or, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just want you to know how I feel. Now, the person on the other end who's hearing something like, hey, you were flitting you were flitting around at that party. No, what you want to say is, if that your spouse or somebody says to you, you know what, I hated the way you acted at that party. Now that's an attack. Now, if you start defending yourself, where does that go? There has to be one adult in the room at least. So you say, hey, you know what? I really was really enjoying myself. I was all over talking to everyone at that party. I didn't even think about the fact that how that might feel for you. I do appreciate that you're telling me. It's so important to me to be able to feel free at parties and be able to talk to people. Could you tell me what it was about it that just bothered you so much? Did you feel like I was flirting? Did you feel like it was, whatever it was, right? And you ask the question. Now they tell you, they feel safe to tell you because you're willing to own it. You're willing to have a conversation. So then the next thing could be, yeah, you know what? It was like making me, I feel like a little jealous. I felt like maybe you were like, I don't know. You were like, whatever, flirting. And then you say, I just want you to know there was nothing in my body at all that felt that way or that was driven in that way. But I do understand how you could feel that way. You see, now think about it. Instead of being defensive, all of this is right in line with that thing that I've told you guys about what I did, that I decided a long time ago to wipe from my vocabulary the two words right and wrong. That should never, ever be in a marital conversation. In terms of saying, yeah, you know what, I could see how that would have really bothered you. Now, what you're doing is you're owning your behavior and you're understanding the other person's feelings. The other person is owning their feelings, and they're also controlling their behavior by not reacting. Everybody's thoughts, feelings, actions, interactions are their own responsibility. It's not, okay, he did that, I had every right to do this. That's bullshit. You don't have every right. You have a choice. So you have a choice, and it's your responsibility if you're going to be in your adult or you're going to be in your reactionary child. I've brought up many, many times, and I'll do it a gazillion more times, from 0 to 7 years old, we are in a theta brainwave. That means that we are being automated, programmed, habituated with all of the behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, and everything that's programmed in our operating system, which is our body. That is put there and ready to roll after 7 years old. We then operate from that program. It is our duty and responsibility and obligation to think greater than that program, to feel greater than that program, to interact with ourselves in a way that disregards the things in that program that are not beneficial to us, to our children, to our parents, to our significant others. It is up to us to reprogram our life. And I have connected this concept to a couple of things that I've also mentioned. One is one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Alvin Toffler, and it is, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write. It will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and learn again. So we've learned 0 to 7 years old, all of these beliefs. And we've probably all learned that relationships, depending upon the way our mother and father taught us, the way they interacted with one another, and what television taught us, and what social media teaches us, and what everybody around us just assumes about relationships, is all programmed in us already, right? So that is what we've learned. Now, learned, unlearn, that means we see it, Nothing changes until it becomes what it is. And the only way to unlearn something is to know that you learned it. So to know, look inward when there's a situation going on, you go inward and you ask the wise questions. What on God's green earth am I feeling and how come? And it's not their fault. Okay, I own it. So now it's my job to learn again. How do I intend to relate to my spouse? How do I intend to relate to life? How do I intend to not react? How do I want to live my life? And now I'm going to reprogram my brain through repetition, through consistent words and thoughts that are going in my head. No, to not react, to chew your arm off before you blame someone else, before you even looked inside. The other thing that attaches to that for me is the scripture that says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that is the same thing as learned. So whatever the world that we have conformed to is usually the world we're born into. So do not be conformed to this world. And in the purposes of this podcast, is do not be conformed to what we believe about relationships in our damn society. And then, but be transformed, be willing, be transformed, be a person who is transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we rewire our brain, our thinking, our feeling, our interactions to be renewed, and we are now transformed. So I want you to put that in your pipe and smoke it. And I want you to consider that what we practice, we get good at. And if you've practiced for a long time, attack and defend and attack in your relationships, reconsider if you would like to have a harmonious relationship. Lay down your pride. Seriously, start looking inward instead of outward. Be willing to have a good relationship, even though you've been taught forever that relationships are terribly difficult. Be willing to have a not difficult relationship by just being direct, clear, honest, tell the truth with love, understand. Love you guys. Please like, subscribe. I would really appreciate. You can follow me on Instagram, Alison Answers. I would love to hear from you. I have all clips of all this on there. I'm on YouTube, Alison Answers. I have Lager Counseling Services on Instagram, Facebook, Alison Answers on Facebook. It would really mean a lot to me if you could just head on over to those things. You could could subscribe, give me some comments. I would love to interact with you. I'd love to get to know you more and see what kind of content you want to know about, because I am all about delivering what really will make a difference in your life. So please let me know what that is. And please subscribe. Please, please, please. Love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. I just want to say to you that we are all together a part of the Mission Awake, a mission that's going to stop the mediocrity that's plaguing all of us. So if you got something here today, I ask that you would be a part of this mission and you'd share it with whoever you can. Take a screenshot of the show and share it on your Instagram. If you are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform, Instagram, Alison Answers, or Lager Counseling Services. And give us a review and subscribe if you could to YouTube, Alison Answers. That's where you're going to get a lot of content. I drop stuff every day, goofy stuff, all different kinds of stuff. 5-minute videos that just get you moving in your day. Have a great week. See you next time.